School can be a lot of fun and it can be really challenging, and kids can learn a lot. But there is a particular H word associated with school that can make anyone, including parents trying to help them with it, look like this. And that H word is homework. Hi, I'm Dr. Pearce, child psychologist, and I'm here today to talk with you about homework and why it doesn't have to make anyone feel like this. So, in doing so, I'd like to talk with you about three things related to homework. But before we get into those three things, I just would like to invite you to subscribe if you haven't. It really does help out the channel. And if you've been enjoying my content, please feel free to give me a thumbs up on this video. So without further ado, let's talk about the three things that I think are important for parents to consider regarding homework. First of all, how much homework should your kid really be doing? Because homework has become this big thing, at least here in the United States, and sometimes kids do a lot of it. And I've seen 8 or 9-year-olds who have like an hour or two every single night to do, which just sounds like a lot for a pretty little kid who just got home from like a 7 or 8 hour day. So that's the first point. How much homework should kiddo really be doing? Second point is, rather than focusing too much on rewards and punishments and getting into a power struggle with your kid, I think it's good to focus more on just kind of engendering the sort of conditions and schedules and things that are going to help kiddo succeed and make homework easier to handle in general. And then the third point I'd like to make today is that if your kid really is struggling that badly with homework, whether it's from a behavioral or an academic standpoint, then we probably want to focus more on just getting extra help for the kiddo in some kind of way, rather than kind of grinding our gears a lot with kiddo, because kiddo already has to go to school all day, every day. And if school is that hard, then coming home is, it's their break from school. So let's talk more about the first point, which is about how much homework should your kiddo really be doing. Now, honestly, I don't necessarily know what specific number to tell you regarding, 8-year-olds should be doing 10 minutes or 12-year-olds should be doing 3 hours. I don't really know the correct answer there. But what I understand is that research has really failed to demonstrate that homework adds a lot of value to education. At least that's what I've heard from a friend of mine who is an educational psychologist. Point being, for younger kids, and I think even for, probably junior high aged kids, homework should be pretty minimal. And the reason for that is, well, think about it. Picture being 8 years old and having just gone to like a 7.5, 8 hour day, and then you come home and you've got an hour or two of homework to do. Kiddo needs to really be a kid. We complain a lot about kids not having enough time to run around or not being physical enough, and yet oftentimes they're so occupied with worksheets and things like that that they can't really do it. So I encourage parents to take a real active role. If your kiddo does have a lot of homework to do, too much in your opinion, speak up. Get in touch with the teacher. I mean, I'm not accusing teachers of doing anything wrong. More just get in touch with the teacher, talk about what is and isn't required. I've heard of situations where kid got a packet every night that was pretty thick. However, a big chunk of it was stuff that was just in case the kid wanted extra practice. It was not required, and that wasn't really clear in the homework instructions. So please do take an active role. Speak up. Most teachers are very happy to collaborate and figure something out that works for everyone. So let's talk about the second point. Excuse me, bug in my throat tonight. The second point has to do with making sure that we're engendering the right kind of conditions to help a kid get homework done. So there's lots of factors that can go into something like doing homework every night. There can be your level of exhaustion, your stress levels, your level of motivation, whether you're tired or hungry, how confident you feel in what you're doing. But the things that we can easily kind of play around with rather than worrying too much about rewarding and punishing and getting into too much of a power struggle and using a lot of like force to get the kid to do homework. Is we can focus on things like, well, does kiddo need to have a quick snack and then jump right into homework when we get home from school? Does kiddo need an hour break to go run around and be very, very physical for an hour, and then they can relax and do homework? I appreciate that it can be really challenging as parents when you're managing a lot of things, cooking dinner, you're getting home from work yourself, and so your options might be kind of limited. However, it's just good to think about playing around with that. Like, is kiddo maybe someone who just needs to do all their homework over the weekend? Is kiddo someone who needs to do a half an hour at a time? Is kiddo the kind of kid who has about 10 minutes of concentration, then needs to run around for 5 minutes? You don't want to do anything too complicated and difficult to manage. It's just more good to think about playing around with it. Is kiddo the kind of kid who needs to have something to kind of mess with while they're doing homework because they have a hard time sitting still? Does kiddo need to have a snack to eat while they're doing homework? Different people are different. In my case, I really struggle to focus on too much productive in the evenings. I'm just not good at it. My body and my mind are just not in a great place for it. But I seem to do pretty good during the day, and usually prefer to be doing productive things during the day. So something to think about. So let's talk now about the third point, which is just that if your kiddo is really struggling that badly with homework time with you at home, whether it's behaviorally, emotionally, or academically, what that's really saying to you is that something is not going well. And if it's academically in particular, it could be that your kiddo just needs some extra help or support. You also really want to be thinking about things like math and whether or not you really know how to help kiddo. Because if you have a kid who really struggles badly with math, and it's stuff that you yourself don't really know or don't feel like you can teach, then there's a good chance that kiddo just shouldn't be doing that stuff at home. The kiddo should maybe do some much simpler, easier practice stuff rather than the stuff that is that challenging at home. Because if you're not equipped or feel prepared to really help the kid and teach the kid in a way that can help them bridge the gap between what they're missing and what they need to learn, then you're probably just going to grind your gears a bunch, and it's just going to make everyone frustrated. Because I think in general, from like a self-image standpoint and from wanting to avoid associating school with just, too much frustration and things like that, I think we're better off sometimes not doing the homework if it really is causing that much of a problem. I mean, obviously, kid can't put off having to get stuff done permanently, but until we figure out a better way for it to go, sometimes it's best to just avoid it. So the point I'm trying to make with this one is just, if it really is that bad, seek some help. Talk with your school about it. Get your kid some kind of like testing or evaluation at school to see if they maybe have a specific learning difficulty, like with reading, writing, or math. Consider getting your kid evaluated for ADHD. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed there's some kind of diagnosis thing going on. It's just good to explore options and to avoid, banging your head on a brick wall, so to speak. So these are the three big things I wanted to share with you about homework. First of all, it's just good for us to really think about how much homework should kids be doing. And my idea is that it should be real teensy tiny amount until you talk about older kids, like maybe high schoolers. And even then, I still think we need to take it easy. Many high schoolers need to work in order to pay for cars and things like that. And they go to school a long time. And I just think it's good for us to think about, what's an appropriate expectation. Second of all, we really want to focus on avoiding power struggles. And we can do that by thinking more about setting up the schedule and circumstances for a kid. Cat cameo right at the end. Setting up the schedule and circumstances for the kid that seems to work for them so that we don't have to worry so much about power struggles. And then finally, number 3, if your kid really is struggling that badly, really speak up and get some accommodations or support. Look into something like an ADHD evaluation, because there could be something going on that could really help solve the mystery of the homework. So thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And there's a a bell thing that you can bonk down below that will help you know when my next video goes live. For now, this is Dr. Brett Pearce, child psychologist, signing off.